When I'd finished the Vedanta course, then I traveled around Bharat for 6 weeks, just trying to solidify my love for Bharat. And I went to the Ellora Caves. How many of you have been to the Ellora Caves? Okay. And if you go to the Ellora Caves, you'll see that a lot of our murtis, whether it's Bhagavan Shiva or Bhagavan Vishnu, the heads have been cut off and only the bodies remain. And this was done by the people who invaded Bharat for decades and centuries. And what they did was tadatmya. Tat means other. Atmya means me. So tadatmya is when I start to believe that I'm another. So in this case, the invaders wanted us to believe, those who lived in Bharat, that they're not actually Bharatiya, but they are whatever invading country or religion was coming in. Tadatmya. They wanted us to believe that we're not who we are. And at a more intimate level, this is what's happening with the body, the breath, the mind, the intellect, the ego. There's tadatmya. That Atman is I, but the I am now referencing to the body or to the mind. Tadatmya. And this is because we're, in a harsh way I can say we're ignorant, but in a lighter way it's because we don't think about this matter. We don't think about ourselves at a deep level. Ignorance cannot handle inquiry. As soon as you start to inquire, that ignorance fades away, which is why we're asking for guidance from Acharya Shankara, one who has no ignorance, one who has no ego, to guide us through this unknown territory of actually feeling what Atma is. He has created this Prakarana Grantha, which is in English an introductory text that elaborates on technicalities. Technicalities like ignorance being indescribable. On principles. Principles like the gross body, the subtle body. And when someone has these technicalities and principles clear, then they can begin to study Shastra. Shastra is science. They can start to study that which is comprehensive, like Srimad Bhagavad Gita, like Ramayana, but without such technicalities and such principles, one is not capable. They're eligible, but not capable to study these life-changing and life-making manuals. I'm sharing this because many people read Ramayana, read Gita, but reading and studying is very different. And by having access to Atma Bodha, Ramayana and Gita will come to life. You will come to life to your own potential. In Shloka 15, which we studied last week, we studied about how a crystal, when placed near a cloth of another color, that crystal appears to have that same color, even though it has no color. And in a very worldly way, think about this. If a poor person wears real jewelry, as compared to a rich person wearing fake jewelry, who are you going to believe is wearing the real jewelry? You're going to believe that the rich person wearing the fake jewelry is wearing real jewelry, isn't it? And that's why our sutra for 15 was association determines limitation. If I'm a rich person, I can wear fake stuff, but I'm associated with that richness, so that fake stuff becomes real also. Association determines limitation, with our reminder being a crystal. In Shloka 16, we studied how, for us to get to rice, we have to remove all of the husk. And this is such a simple example, but now all of the rice we get is from burritos from Taco Bell or Panda Express in our school cafeterias, correct? We have no idea of where rice comes from, what rice is. Bringing this to ourselves, mananam destroys doubt. when we start to think about this subject, that doubt that's covering the idea is destroyed. Our sutra was, unlearning is unleashing. When I start to unlearn that I need praise to serve, when I start to unlearn that, I start to unleash how great I am. Great I am in the sense of how much I can contribute. And we are reminded of this with rice. So all of the people of Indian origin who eat rice on a regular basis, start thinking about mananam destroys doubt. Don't think about what pickle you should eat. This sambar is cold, etc., etc. In 17, we studied how belief is at the mind level and faith is at the intellect level. Belief and faith are of different equipments, and as long as the mind is dirty, you can never get to faith. But once the mind starts to become cleaner, purer, we start to have more faith. Our sutra was polish the mind mirror. And I gave you a reference from Hanuman Chalisa. Our reminder is a mirror. Every time we see a mirror, we should think about polishing the mind mirror, not just putting on chapstick, not just a spot where we missed with our shaving, but polishing the mind mirror. In Shloka 18, Acharya Shankara continues to encourage us to not take for granted every moment of our living, and specifically about who we think we are. We're going to move very fast through this shloka, maybe 2 shlokas, so please work with me. Dehendriya mano buddhihi
Dehendriya mano buddhi
prakritibhyo vilakshanam
Prakritibhyo vilakshanam
tadvritti sakshinam vidyat
Tadvritti sakshinam vidyat
Atmanam rajavatsada
Atmanam rajavatsada
Dehendriya mano buddhihi prakritibhyo vilakshanam tadvritti sakshinam vidyat Atmanam rajavatsada. Deha, body. Indriya, senses. Manaha, mind. Buddhihi, intellect. All of these are equipments. All of these are upadhis. And there's such a difference between using an equipment and being an equipment. As I read these words out, were any of you thinking that you use the senses, use the intellect? Because our language says, I am the body, this is my mind. Maybe we're not thinking about this enough. To help us realize the difference between using an equipment and being an equipment, we have to slow down. When you slow down, you have a tendency to step back. When you step back, you have a tendency to see more. Slow step, see. Okay? How to make this practical? By doing this. And if you don't, then you are a tool. Instead of using a tool, then you are a tool, right? That's what this shloka is saying. That's what this pada is saying. What are these equipments made of? Prakritibhyo. These are made up of matter. What is the intellect and mind made up of? Thoughts. What is the breath and body made up of? Essentially, cells. That's all matter. Cells are matter. Thoughts are matter. Prakriti. If I know that these are just thoughts and cells, cells keep changing, thoughts keep changing, it's fine. I don't have to assume those limitations. I received a really great magnet from one of our Balavera students. The magnet said, the most valuable things in life are not things. The most valuable things in life are not things. Thoughts are things. Cells are things. Prakriti, the equipment, they're things. You are not a thing. In the 3rd pada, Acharya Shankara says, Vidyat, know this. think about this, feel this, vilakshana, that there is a distinction between the equipments and naturally between who you are. That's the subject matter. Tat vritti sakshinam, that we are that which illuminates, that which can see these vrittis, these thoughts, these cells, which means that I am not these vrittis, these thoughts, these cells. We are different than matter. We are the spirit. In Bhagavad Gita, there's Prakriti and there's Purusha. Purusha does not mean man. Purusha means Purnatva, that which is full, that which is infinite. The spirit is a presence. It is a presence, and in that presence, all happens. In Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan says, when you know this presence, all else is known. What he's indicating is if you know Purusha, if you know Purnatva, you become happy once and for all. And no other science can do that. All of you who are in college and university right now, in your course syllabus, does it say if you know this science, then you don't need to study any other sciences? Does it say you'll be happy once and for all? I think the syllabuses say the exact opposite. If you study this, you also have to study this. But here, Bhagavan is saying this is all that's to be known, which is really sharing our only purpose is to be happy. In the last quarter, Acharya Shankara says as an example that the Atman is like the Raja and the equipments are like the Praja. Raja is the presence, Praja is the people. In a very functional way, the Raja has nothing to gain from those Praja. The self has nothing to gain from the equipments because the self is infinite, the self is independent. If you can invoke this last quarter, our only friend is the spirit. The only friend we need is the spirit, which is why I openly tell people you should date yourself. Why date other people when you can date yourself in the most meaningful, lasting, productive, cheap, simple, happy way? Thursday's date night, isn't it? Those are the other people interfering with your date, but you're really dating yourself. Here's the sutra for Shloka 18. I am illumination. I am illumination. Please note I didn't say I am the witness. And please note I didn't say I illuminate, because those are still lower understandings and lower teachings. Because if I illuminate, it's not about me being a presence anymore. I'm actively acknowledging that there's a difference between me and matter. But if I say I am illumination, whether matter is there or not, irrelevant. I am illumination. If that's too subtle. Is the sun illuminating the earth? From the earth's perspective, yes, but from the sun's perspective, no. The sun is illumination, whether the earth is there or not, isn't it? You are illumination. You are that independent. This is called Vishesha Jnana, detailed knowledge. That I am in illumination. All we have is Samanya Jnana, general knowledge. I am, and I don't know what that last part is, so I am Vivek. I am curly hair. I am old. I am this. I am that. But Vishesha Jnana is I am illumination. 19, I think we can do it. Yes? No? Yes? Okay. If you sign off, we'll see that you signed off. Try logging into the next class then. Vyapriteshva indriyeshvatma. Vyapriteshva indriyeshvatma. Vyapariva vivekinam. Vyapariva vivekinam. Drishyate breshu dhavatsu.
Drishyate bhreshu dhavatsu.
Dhavan iva yatha shashi.
Dhavan iva yatha shashi.
Vyapriteshvindriyeshvatma. Vyapari va vivekinam. Drishyate bhreshu dhavatsu. Dhavan iva yatha shashi. Acharya Shankara says in the 19th shloka, he brings up the word vyapara. This is a word that we hear in Hindi often. Vyapara means business, someone who's always active. What is active? The indriya. The senses are ever active, and with the senses being ever active, I start to think, because I don't think, that the Atma, self, I, is also active. In Srimad Bhagavad Gita's chapter 12, Bhagavan Krishna says, for anyone who wants to love Bhagavan, for anyone who wants to live for life, live for the highest, live for peace, they have to have a content intellect, they have to have a balanced mind, and they have to have disciplined sense organs. The word is yatatma. Without disciplined sense organs, one cannot love God. One cannot love life. If our senses are so active, we will never realize that we are more than the senses. In the second quarter, vyapari, that word comes again, being active, like someone who is aviveka. For someone who is not thinking, it's as if the Atman is enlivening the senses. But the Atman is not enlivening the senses. The Atman is a presence. The Atman is not a sakshi. Atman is. I is. What these senses are doing, they are enlivened because they're in association with the I, but the I is. The I doesn't identify with any equipment. This word aviveka is similar to avichara. When we've all studied avichara, krito bandha. By not thinking, we make ourselves separate. We make ourselves small. We make ourselves sad. We make ourselves stressed. We make ourselves stuck. Because if I think that my Atman is enlivening my sense organs, then that means that there's a relationship between Atman and Indriya. So my Indriya, as they grow, as they die, then that should affect the Atma, but it doesn't. Independence. Drishyate abhreshu dhavatsu. When you see clouds that are moving, when the clouds are moving, when the clouds are running, anything that's around that cloud, we tend to think that that's moving and not the cloud. The cloud is closer to us. Whatever we're seeing is not moving, but it feels like it's moving, is farther from us. So the cloud is moving, it's closer to us. Beyond that, it's not moving, but we feel like it's moving. It's an optical illusion. That's not true. And that entity that's far away is shared in the last quarter, yatha, just as the moon. When clouds are moving, when they're running, and behind is the moon or ahead is the moon, we think the moon is moving when actually the clouds are moving. That's tadatmya, that's superimposition, that is not the truth. Casually, if we just look and look away, we don't realize that clouds are moving and that the moon is stable. But if we look more carefully, we will see that the moon is stable and the clouds are moving. The moon is not affected by the clouds. So all of the ups and downs in our lives, they don't have to affect us if we know that I am distinct from the equipments and all the equipments are engaged in. How many of you have been to Siem Reap? Anyone? Siem Reap in Cambodia? And then you tend to journey from Siem Reap down the Mekong River to Phnom Penh, which is the capital of Cambodia. Before the Vedanta course, then I was exploring the world, and I found myself in Cambodia. And I had traveled around Siem Reap for 5 days, and then was on this boat going down the Mekong River, and there was a ton of people in this boat. And I distinctly remember telling my friend that we cannot be inside the boat, we have to be outside the boat. Because if this boat is sinking, you and I are swimming. But if we're in that boat, then we're not going to be those people swimming. So we're outside on this boat, and it's windy and it's hot. And you can see the shore and all of the trees that are there, the shrubs that are there. And when I sit on the boat, it's as if those trees and shrubs are moving, when in actuality, I was moving. I'll give you another example is, how many of you have been on a yatra to Bharat with me? By show of hands. Lots of you have. And one of the best parts of our yatras are the train journeys, right? Where you're sitting on the train, and sitting actually means that there's a good chance you may fall out. And you see all of that landscape that's changing, right? The villages, the dogs, the smoke, when actually they're there, it is us that is moving. So we go through these experiences all the time, but never think that it's happening to us all the time. That we are kutastha. The self is like an anvil that is. Here is your sutra. Perception is, and what rhymes with perception?
Deception.
Deception, yes, good word. Perception is deception. That is our 19th sutra. Oh.